All right, I'm going to try and pump through this. This is all about how to set up a trust company. Just say everyone's got an asset and you want to put it together, and it's based on equity. Now, equity is an existing set of rules that's administered by the Court of Justice. It's not nothing. When it comes to statute law works under something called positive law. That's statute law. If you do custom and usage law, which is what you create trusts under, it becomes under natural justice. There's a big difference in law between natural justice and positive law. Big difference. Indigenous people of this land, they work under natural justice. And that's where you deal with equity. This deals with commerce. If you've got your money tied up in commerce somewhere along the line and you want to protect your assets, you have to go into natural justice. And you have to create, again, the world of equity, natural justice. You have to get into the world of the trust. And this is what is, when you get in here, this is the key word for root raw mob. Anyone else, it's called a just commune. Just say we all come to an agreement, we all want to create a community of Lex Lockie together, and we all put our heralds together, and we all put all our own assets together under one ledger book. We just create our own just community. And from that, we can create our own municipal government down the track. And what do they do? Once you do that and you create a just commune, you can create something in finances called a specific performance. You can show that to the court. If everyone comes together and down the track, we want to build colleges. I want to build colleges. It's another story. I might show you this one afterwards, my little schematic plan of building colleges. It's no use me building a college if I'm teaching and learning it myself. I need people. So if everyone, and that's what rooted raw is. If we build a college and we put all our heralds together, our assets together, we create our own just commune. We don't tell the statute, federal courts that. We go to a court of equity. We say, Your Honour, this is wrong. We go specific performance to create our own colleges from our own equity assets. That's how it happens. You present that because we're directing law. That's how it works. Meantime, we have access to the Archbishop of Melbourne, because he loves his idea, because the Archbishop of Melbourne's meant to curate our souls, not to exploit us. We're building a college because when you go to the college, you go through the churches. If you want to build a university, you go through the states. Very interesting, isn't it? So that's what equity can offer. We went up to Queen's College. You know, all those colleges around North Melbourne, those colleges, their charters go back pre-state government. So where do they get the finances from? You go to the Wesley College and everyone went to Wesley College and everyone was a congregation of that member. They put all their assets towards the college. The Wesley College says, geez, we've got all this money, what are we going to do? I mean, the Wesley Church, what are we going to do? Let's build some colleges. That's how they done it. There was no government handouts in those days. So we can do it. Pretty simple. This is really interesting. A landowner can convey land to a party for his own use. The team word, if you've got land assets, I've got 65 acres, I stated fee simple, I'm a tenant in common. If I want to use my assets to another use, the term is ad sum optus. That's the legal term. Ad optus. The bargain is to have profits and enjoyment of the land. Requiring certain people to deal in certain ways with the laws of the land. Laws of the land. Not laws of the sea, laws of the land. All right? Very interesting, isn't it? Now, who can you put the ad sum optus to? When you do an equity court and you want to do this under the old rule of law, Remember I was talking about the equity courts? They actually exist. You've got to go through the Supreme Court, the equity courts. The person who runs the equity courts, they call the Chancellor. He's an office of the Crown. It was once the Church. If you have the specific performance you want to create a college, and you want the strength of the res, being the Crown, the res and the Crown, and you've got your own ledger book, you want to put all these finances on a platform. Basically, if you put all your finances on a ledger book and you want to create something that's called a verification measurement, anyone heard that? But what I could do, if everyone agreed with me and I said, everyone put all your assets on my page and I write it all down, and just say there's 10 million, just say there's $100 million in assets, I can do that by law. It's called a verification measurement. And then I can go and start finding people who want to trade with me on that. So one of the things, if you've got a verification measurement, instead of going to the Australian government and want to get rolled up in this bounce around gambling casino financial realm, I can take that verification into the Chancellor office. He looks at it, and basically what happens, when the Chancellor's looking at it, and we do have access to this, he puts an order, he'll look at it, these guys have got something called greed and pens. Why is he's ordering over this financial platform, no one else can parasite into it? Because we've got an order there. Old chap, we are British old chap. And what you can do in there, this is really interesting, and the Chancellor, he can enforce something for you called a personal right, and that personal right's called a jus personam. Jus communion, jus personam. These are all legal terms, lawful terms, right? That jus personam, what comes out of that is your heraldry coat of arms character, right? Da-da-da. That heraldry coat of arms character, whatever, because my spirit name's called Crom Crach. On my letterheads, it's got the Crom Crach. That's my character. Ross David Drake's the one my mum and dad said I was and got registered in coppers. That's Ross David Drake. All right, I'll play the straw man name. I'll play all the Mickey Mouse thing because there's a lot of treasure. Oh, yeah, no worries, mate. I'll pay the fine. Piss off. But I want to create my just persona as the Crom Crach. And if I put my assets under the Chancellor, it's the Crom Crach. Everyone has a spirit name. And that's one of the things we'll be doing. We're keen to do workshops with people how to get rid of their straw man name and find a totem spirit name. That's a whole different ball game. I do men's workshops. It takes about 4 days in the bush and women's workshops. Sharon's going to put her hand up for that, ain't she? Yeah. That's another side. So if there's anyone wants to have a bit of a spiritual journey from going from the straw man confused space to actually what I'm doing to get that symbol of the totem, I do workshops for that. It takes about 4 days, all right? This is not a simple process. This is just introduction. But if you really want to break the balls of this, just give us 4 days. It took me 3 years in the Scottish Highlands to find this, so I'm just asking 4 days. I lived in the Scottish Highlands for 3 years, and I studied theology with the Presbyterian Church. And so I got that kind of knowledge. I like reading scriptures. Right? So when it comes to this, I can actually get this biblical. It's an even different ball game. Especially when it comes to the Chancellor's office, because they're church and all that. Because when it comes right down to the core of law and it's all in Latin, the Bible's part of the game too. All right? Because it was once a Christian kingdom before it became Australian government. All right, and what you can do, this is the magic word. This is the magic word. I'll put it in red. If you've got a Chancellor, you've got your own finances, you can create yourself something called a new Rubik chapter. Has anyone heard of that? A Rubik chapter. When they changed law, the real law in Oxford University, it's usually in red pen, back to the red oak, it's called a rubric, as a ruby. You can create a whole new financial platform. If we're not going to do it, who else is going to do it? We are the creators. We have to create this, don't we? Here's the process.
I think we use a green pen.
It's rubric, it's red, Jeff. No, the rubric law is red. And it's called a rubric chapter. You have to go through the church. So if people come to an agreement, that's the hard thing. Everyone wants it. No, don't just want it, you've got to will it. And you've got to will yourself to an agreement, and you've got to will to what you actually want to agree to. Do you want to create a new community for your land? Create a community with the indigenous people of this land? That's what you've got to get to, is a rubric tractor. There's a process to get there. The law's not lost. We're lost from the law. All right? One of the things I'm talking to Indigenous people with all this sort of stuff, they're really cool. They're digging me on this, especially when it comes to the totems, because I don't have to do a workshop and then how to find totems. I already got them. We once had totems when we were in Celts, when we were pagans, if you like. We once had it, but we got civilised, got too very clever, and now we're bankrupt. Now we all want to go back out the bush and sit in the nature with the Aboriginals, you know. Go back to the Garden of Eden while we're bulldozing it. So you know, the solution is really in our own soul, if you like. Now, one of the things that happens when you create a trust is this thing. This is really interesting. It's called a statute trust. Now, a lot of people are bagging the statute trust because they think it's the evil of the Crown that's keeping us in the straw man and that. It's not. When you create a statute trust, basically that's showing that you have the trustee and the benefactors. And there's a relationship between the trustee and the benefactors, and that's through this statute trust. Because if you haven't got a strong will to do this, you're asking an executor to do the business for you. So technically we create through Jeff's office, and everyone puts all their ledger book onto anyone. If anyone takes an interest of your assets, you're giving your trust over to them. They become an executor of your affairs, and you become a beneficiary from their good works. Well, that's called a statute trust, technically. So right now you think you're free, but by will, the Attorney General's Office of the State Victorian, he's your statute trust, statute trust. He's the executor of your trust. That's why we've got an executive government. Because we are a Commonwealth, and so they created a state government, so we've got an executive branch to create your trust. So that's the statute trust. Because when it becomes the V on it, is that basically the V represents that you're on their books. He's got control of your ad sum optus. He's dealing with your affairs. He's dealing with your assets. It's called a state government. Basically, it's their own trust company. All right? But you don't know that's happened. So what happened is, if one knows that a CEO, and going back to when you're paying rates to a CEO of the corporation, he's got another trust company. You don't know that that's CEO of the Lawrence Shire Council. I'm paying my rates. He's got my name on my rates, and he's got everyone ratepayers notice, and he's just created another bank account with our rates notice that no people know that he's actually got. And what he's doing, he's selling this ledger book to outsourced trust companies using my name as an assignee of that contract that I don't even know exists. That's the corruption of it. They're using our assets and they're making a whole bank account of our assets onto these platforms you don't even know that they're doing. That goes into the bond market. But one of the things is, I said, no, wait a sec, if that's my name on that bank account of my trust that you haven't told me I'm an assignee of it, I can ask them hard questions because that's my name on that bloody paper, mate. Negotiable instrument again. You're using my name and my assets and you're creating these financial platforms that's not going back to me. That's a serious big corruption that's going on in Australia right now. I won't go into depth, but that's where all that finance is going. It goes into the Chicago Board of Trade. The people who are organising this is Deloitte's, the bond market. That's how they're doing it, because the CEO's got a trust company. You don't know. People don't know that these corporations have got liens on your life you don't even know exist. Under the banner of, because we're no longer Australian citizens no more, we're bloody global citizens, corporate citizens. Oh, well, wait a sec, I'm having trouble with Australian citizens now, I'm a corporate citizen? Who's put a lien on me, mate? Got to ask these questions, don't you? Because as soon as they put a lien in it, they're putting new regulations on you. Apparently on my property up in the bush, the green parrot's got more right into my land than I have. Bloody green, I'm looking after the green parrot anyway, mate. I don't need you to tell me and find me if the green parrot flies off. Yeah, I get irate about that. And the big key word is here is the signing. You've got to write signature. The big key is you've got to give consent through signature. If you haven't signed off on all these lien trusts, you can take them the ball on the fact that that's a false, fraudulent document. I haven't signed it. You've created a lien in my name without my permission. You can close down a lot of corporations on that. You, under the Commonwealth, because the signature is so important in the Commonwealth. It's what Henry VIII put into the law, the signature superioritas. Because before that, in the Catholic rule, they didn't have signatures. It was just obliged. God save King Henry VIII. So when you create a trust like this, and it's called inter vivos, that's the key word. That's where you're right. If you've got your own assets, you've got an inter vivos right. And that means, what inter vivos means, a trust may be declared and transferred by the will. It's my will. It's not your will, it's my will. It's by my consent. This is a common will. This is something very English, people. You have a will. And you have a will to choose your own actions. A lot of countries don't offer that. Certainly the Australian government doesn't offer it. Inter vivos. These are languages used to... and you have, under that inter vivos, you have a bare personal contractual right. Equity would do absolutely nothing for your damages. Big key word. If you get involved, then you've got to be responsible for your actions, because there's no such thing as compensation. You trip over, you trip up, pick yourself up. Don't go around blaming and claiming, because you enter this on free will, you take full free will responsibility. If you don't want to take full will responsibility, go to the government and screen compensation. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry for victims out there. This takes strength, people. It takes a lot of strength. If you haven't got the strength, then don't step up, all right? Expecting someone to carry your hand, and go and join a social club. You know, what we want to do at Rooted Raw is very unique, it's very specific, it's very challenging, but and we can support each other up on the step, but we can't really carry everyone. Everyone's got to come in with a strong deed, and that's what it is a deed, because once you've got an inter vivos, you actually create your own deed. It's not a contract, it's a deed. All right? And what the deed is, that's what's in deed. You've got to walk what you talk, and you've got to be control of your own assets. So where there is available consideration, going back to that word consideration, and this is another thing, what's your value? How much value you got about yourself? Can you actually put it on paper? Big test. We had that with our meeting. Can you actually value what your costs are? You're going to offer some, but what's the value behind you? Can you go like that? Oh, I don't know, mate. Well, someone else is going to give you the value if you don't offer it. So all of a sudden it becomes hard work. What is your valuable consideration? If me and Jeff wants to deal, what have you got to offer, mate? I'm not going to tell you, then I'm playing the priest. You've got to tell us what your offer is. You've got to tell us your consideration. If you don't offer that, then the government would tell you what your value is. This is where you go and trust. You've got to trust yourself and you've got to get in full strength. Now what happens is, and what you do, when you give your own value, it's something called an express trust. You're expressing your own value. If you don't do it, then the government will bring something on you called an implied trust. So when you actually get a fine through the government, through the parking tickets, that's actually an implied contract. It's not an express contract because you didn't sign it. If you sign it, it's an express contract. But if they use your name without your permission, it's an implied contract because the government's given that permission because they're telling you what your value is. You're a holder of a value. Your value is you just cost $60 for going over 10 miles. That's the value. That's an implied contract. Whenever they give you a fine, it's an implied contract. By legislation, they can do that to pay off the debt. Why? Because they've got a trust company. When we looked at the Attorney General's office of Victoria, the trust company is actually a religious and successory trust. There you go. Isn't it? So what happens if we do all this together? Another what type of trust is called a resulting trust. We create our own ledger book. Here's all our assets on the one page. We just create the result. The Chancery Division will look at a resulting trust because we just created a just commune. We just created a community. There's the result, Your Honour. It's called a resulting trust. By inter vivos, one does not intend to be of a quasi-benefit to a corporation. I don't want to be a quasi-benefit to a corporation. I'm keen to result in my own trust. Because declare no trust in a corporation. I don't trust these guys. All right, if you don't trust them, that's fine. Can you result your own trust? I'm the judge here. I've just got two people in front of me. If you can show the judge how you have compiled all this, it's so much easier to create your own law. Create your own rubric chapter. But the key word is, to do all this, and if you've got the state of fee simple and you've got land, title, assets, estates or property, whatever, the key word is it's accounted, because it's all about accountability. Account, and this is for tenants in common. Well, when you have tenants in common, I'm going to write this out because it's a bit of that. Back to the justified, accree, sendi, inter, merca, so this opens up the law, mercantile law, mercators, locum, which means local, non-habit. If anyone's into finances and you want to create a new ledger financial book, accountancy book, you put a bit of Latin like that. This is the way to start your own merchant bank. Just accrescenti inter mercators locum non-habet. All right. If two people pay the purchase money in equal shares, the conveyance will make them joint tenants. Joint tenant in common. It's not like joint stock market, it's joint tenants in common. A trustee arises. One in fee simple and equity is the owner by rights is right and rem. This is a right and rem, it's your thing. If you can remember, there's a remedy. If you can remember, right and rem. If you want a remedy, you've got to remember who you are. As long as it's with the res, the reserve, the Crown's the reserve. If you go to the federal government and they say they've got the res, make sure you point out the Crown's the res, through the equity law.
Did you say that the two parties have to pay equal shares?
Oh, no, that's not really relevant. I'm just going off the top of my head. Now this one, if fee simple is mortgaged, so he's got a mortgage here, I have, all right? If it's mortgaged to a bank, and what they've got is they have the illegal estate. Mortgage, which mortgage means dead pledge. It's like mortgage, it's going to the morgue, isn't it? Pledge, dead pledge, that's what it means. But if you still have the same asset and you want to go into this realm here, what you have in there is something called equitable rights. You've borrowed money against your asset to pay off a loan. So they have an illegal estate, but you still have equitable rights to do your own transactions elsewhere. They don't tell you that. So even if you've got a mortgage, and you go back to your state of fee simple and a title of your name, hereditary title to that name, you've got equitable rights. If you call myself Ross Drake and I'm a citizen of Victoria and I think I own my property, these guys have got legal estate over you. Language is very important. How you document this language on law tenders is very important. I'm saying all this, I mean, Jeff here has helped me. We kind of worked a lot of this out, but the reason why we're doing this workshop, we test this in front of the QC just to make sure, because we might have to pay a lot of money to get to this Merkin bank, you know, I think it might be up to 10 grand, to make sure that all the paperwork's right and Mickey Mouse, that it will go through the law courts, because I'm a lay person. But when you go to a QC, they're professionals. That's what notary publics, that's why I pay a lot of money to them. Because if you get this documentary right, we're creating the new Rubik chapters. All right? But this is the sort of language how to do it.
Ross, is anybody else doing this? Are there any examples of anybody in Australia?
No, I'm very unique. You're eccentric when you try, but when you achieve it, you become unique. That's a joke, mate.
Elsewhere in the UK or...
I don't know.
So in the whole Commonwealth, that hasn't been... No. There's no precedence for this yet?
No, obviously it was done before. They wouldn't rip this out.
So there's some organisations doing it, or is it more
No, I don't know what's happening right now, but before Federation, this is how it was all set up. This is stuff you can read. So someone must have done it to write it out. So it's not like I'm making it up. It's all in the law. It's all on record in law. So that's why I said to the QC, I don't want to create something new. I just want to go back to the old law books. So if we're in the law books, we've already won, haven't we? He goes, yes, great idea, brilliant, yes. Hilarious old chap, yes. So, because the whole thing, if you go to the judge, I'm just using precedents of the whole court system. I'm not making it up, Your Honour. I'm just going back to the wisdom of my elders. Here it is. This is what actually created Australia in the first place. This corporation has to rebut it. And this corporation, God knows what their liens of their finances are on. They don't know themselves. Fairyland out there. With your future. Superannuation fund. What a God. When that first came out, I thought, what a joke. That's not going to last 20 years. Well, yeah, but the thing is, if everything collapses, this is all right, everything collapses. What happens when it collapses? What's going to replace it? That's what my spirit is. Everyone's saying, oh, it's all stuffed, Ross, it's all going out. I know, but what's going to replace it? No one's putting their answer up for that. So that's, oh, geez, I better get me out. What can replace this? And that's what, oh, geez, it's already in history. But why do we have to wait for it to fall down? Why don't we just start strong? Do we have to wait for it to collapse before we all get together? Why? Let's start starting strong. And the more strong we go, everyone, when the light enters, darkness comprehends not, the light will come. Everyone will come because it's strength, it's courage, it's knowledge, it's wisdom. It's strong. It's visionary and it's innovative. God save the Queen. God save us all, man, because God saves. He doesn't destroy, you know what I mean? God saves. Very powerful words, isn't it? So let's just get on with it. So there's all this wisdom in our history of ancestors who've done this. The more you go back in the past to bring in the present, the easier it is to create the future. We can go right back to the Celtic priestesses, and we'll go there. If any of you women want to stand up and find your sovereign rights through your spirituality, we will meet that. But we won't be carrying you, right? You have to show your strength. But anyway, that's another workshop. So if all people of title can come to an agreement, tell the CEO is in breach of trust, the transfer of the property to the Crown Office, the trust is at an end. Basically, we can go up to the judge and say that CEO has breached the trust, or that finances will come onto a strong accountancy book. Very powerful. All you got to show the law, we've got the strength, wisdom and courage to take responsibility here. Did you know by law, not in this one, if there's a $60 billion debt and we want to be responsible to pay off the debt, straight away 2/3 of that debt would get drawn off. So all straight down goes down to $20 billion debt. And the equity law, now that there's $20 billion debt, we now see the debt instrument, it needs to be sealed with 2 signatures on it. If you can't show me the seal with 2 signatures, there's no debt. I'm telling you, that debt is caught up in some sort of computer program. Right? By law, you're allowed to ask to look at that debt instrument. And if they can't show you the debt instrument, well, we'll put the assets onto this book. Get the Chancellor to order it. God save the Queen. The Siskiyou Trust can enforce a remedy against a corporation. The purchaser is liable. Now, this is really interesting. You know when I'm saying that the CEO has actually sold he's created a bank account on our estates. He's created his own trust account and we don't know, and he sells it to an offshore truster and someone offshore buys it, usually Chinese or Indian or whatever. What they do, the purchaser of that is liable. He's ex delictio vel quasi. Basically, he's thinking it's a real deal, but he should have got his conveyancing lawyers to find out who's the real beneficiary of this trust. And if he didn't do that, that's to his detriment. You didn't do your conveyancing laws properly. That's why you got conveyancing lawyers. If you think the Australian government's real, mate, God, and some of us are still saying God save the Queen. That's where ex delicate vel quasi. He's got a quasi contract and he's been a bit lazy not to figure out the full, what's called a men's process. When they do that, it's a men's process. But if you can prove that you're the original land title to that contract and they haven't asked for your consent, that's called a men's profit. Because all that profit can go back to that person who actually owns the title of the land. Something I'm talking to the Aboriginal Indigenous people. Men's profit's another ball game. There's so much in law, there's so many remedies here, you know, there's so many ways you can make it really hard for these corporate spin doctors to really be accountable. But you've got to know how to put it to them. Equitable rights will hold good against one who has come to legal ownership by purchase of their value through notice of expressive or constructive. I'll go through that. Yeah, a subject's right of personam can by public notice advertisement might deprive all moral competent bona fide purchasers of incidental to ownership. So basically what they got is it's incidental to ownership. What's happening with this native title consent determination, it's a ex delico vel quasi. They don't actually own the land. The Indigenous, the original people with the titles still own access to that land. They still have a right to question all contracts. It makes all corporations very vulnerable if they haven't talked to the original owners. In the big game, you can ask these really hard questions. It's called lis pendens in the Supreme Court. If there's something pending, you can open up this whole disclosure questions. Where do they think they have the right to squeeze on people? When the land comes back to the trustee, i.e. the Crown Office, then the subject matter of the trust is bound to hold upon the trust. And this is what happens. If it goes back to the original trust, I'll write this down for people to read. It's called set quare, as in query. Set query, thou do hoc quare. Basically, it's a query. When you start querying the real depths of the conveyancing of these contracts and they can't answer it, that's good. But if you can set yourself up, well, we can now count this, basically, so all the money comes over to this account. Who's capable of doing that? You need a big financial administrator's office to do that. So this is why we're talking to the Crown Office. This is why we want to talk to the church, because there's a big administration office. I think they'll like us when we put something in their donation box. Contracts to show good title to have purchased in good faith. So if there's a contract and you got your title, they have to show the good title because your name's a good title. So it's not in good faith that they got your name on their contract. Understand that? It's not in good faith. How did you get my name in your contract? Well, I haven't given consent because I haven't given you my title, that name, to be put on your lien contract, corporation. Stand up. That's really hard. How did you get my name in your corporation contract? Is it an express contract or an implied contract, mate? Did the government tell you can do a contract with my name? You should have talked to the government. That's bad conveyancing, mate. It's not my bloody name. I haven't given that right. This is what we can do in Australia, the common law. There's a difference between an express contract and an implied contract. Tenant's equitable rights and occupation of constructive notice of all equitable rights he has. Yeah. So basically enough, when it comes back to that resulting contract, and when you present that resulting trust, this is another word, it's called constructive notice. So basically what I'm saying here is very constructive, yeah? But when you can write it down on a piece of paper and you present it to constructive notice, that's another principle of the game. You've got to construct this and write it, it's called a constructive notice. If not, then the other person taken of a legal state after notice of prior right makes a person mala fide purchaser. This is a species of fraud, and dolus mollis itself, that's the key word, dolus mollis. Basically, dolus mollis means it's not a bona fide contract. Dollars. Now, this is a bit interesting. We got the Australian dollar. Does anyone know what the word dole means? It's just there. It means fraud.
Bread in Rome.
Hey?
We used to hand out bread in Rome to the citizens on a daily basis.
Daily basis.
Yeah, it was called
Dole, was it? Well, in the French law, it means fraud. So once we had, in Australia, we once had weight behind our English pound, then we changed to the Australian dollar. So the Australian dollar's fraud. Big difference between an English pound and an Australian dollar, isn't it? Dollars mollis, that's what dollars means, it's fraud. When you get dollars in your pocket, you're putting fraud in. There's all sorts of currencies going on around here. We once had the English pound in 1966, we decided to go for the dollar. It's just saying we're practising fraud. Amazing, isn't it, when you read this sort of stuff, you go, geez, crunk. There's another one, I'll write this down. When it comes to immense profit against immense process, if you can purchase your title through a SESQ trust and you've got immense profit, quia prior est tempora proto estura, the older equity is better. If you can prove the older equity against the dollar, like the English pound, that's better in the court of law. First in time, first in law. Older the right, the more powerful it is. Those are subject to the Crown is right and persona holds a remedy against fraudulent trustees, just and rem about proprieties. And equitable rights can be enforced against one who has acquired a legal right. bona fide for value and without notice. A legal mortgage can lose propriety by participating in fraud by gross negligence. So even again, when you borrow money from the bank, do they give you any money? How does the banks work? I want to, what's your name? Danny, you want to borrow $1 million off me, yeah? What do you got, what's the security, Danny?
My word.
Huh?
My word.
Your work. So I'll give you $1 million, 7% interest for the next 25 years. So you signed, right? So I get this promissory note from him that I'm going to get 25 years of his life. So I turn around, I'll get back to you, Danny, and I'll get back, I'll go to Australia and go and they stamp and they endorse it. Tick, 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 tick. I come back, here you go, Danny, you got, off he goes, work for 25 years. Do I give him $1 million? No. What have I done? I just stole his 25 years, haven't I? And I put it over here, hey, Australian government, put up the wealth and go back there. Oh, I've been doing this for a while, you know. No, now he's going to give me $2 million for 7% interest, 25 years. I've done nothing. I haven't given him $1 million. He's going to give me $2 million. Oh, good business. It's no finance, but I've just stole 25 years of his life. That's what you're up against. That's the banking industry. So what happens, you go to Australian government and they've got themselves a mint and they just print money out to justify this Mickey Mouse monopoly game. And now they're printing money left, right and centre because they can't keep up with this false lending, see? Everyone's just borrowing money off nothing because there's no asset backing it. It's really full of dollars. You know, it's kind of like this big magic. What's the reality behind finances? It'll go back to your land, you're entitled to that land. That's all built on commerce. Where do you go back? You go back to land, you go back title to the land, you go back to the bills of exchange. You can create a whole new currency, it goes back to that rubric chapter. When it all collapses, you do not need to collapse with it. That's the main thing. Don't get caught up in the collapse. They're all trying to prop it up with all these false illusions that happy days in the future. There's no more future when there's no money. Make sure you don't collapse with it. Where do you go back? You've got to stand still and you go back to your character, go back to your land. Hold on to this just a minute and understand that when people give you really flash letterheads, it's just a negotiable instrument. Understand your name's on there. I have a right to negotiate this. I have a right to ask some hard questions. Or if we get close enough, I've got an interview I can go back to our little office that these crazy Celtic guys have got and maybe have a bit of a council discussion. And eat heaps of nice food at the same time. Because what we want to do is create a college. We don't create a college to help with food, but we want to educate the next generation. Excuse me here, what the fuck's going on? I think that's to the grace for the next generation. Because I'll tell you what, these kids, they're going to come through, man, and they'll come through either by grace or by aggression. It's one of the two. So, yeah, find a trust fund. Trust fund is gone. So basically when the trust, you've got to be careful of something called specialty debts. There is no presumption, yes, this is what I like. There's a presumption of satisfaction. They're presumed that I'm satisfied with all this. Well, I'm not satisfied. There's a presumption that I'm holding a satisfaction here. There's no presumption whatever that by my will I intend to satisfy a debt which I have not yet incurred. It's not my debt, mate. And that's something called an antecedent debt. It's not my debt. Where's my signature to pay off this national debt? Where's my name? It's not my debt. I want to see the debt instrument. It's called an antecedent debt. It's not my debt, mate. So stop taking money out of my pocket for something I haven't given consent to. You're presuming that I'm satisfied with this. If I'm not satisfied with this, maybe I should create my own resulting trust. I can do it. You create a trust. If you create a trust and bluff a lot of people, why don't I create a trust and help people? Assist people. Why not? I'm a creator. I know the rule of law. I know you guys have done it. Why can't we do it? Are they presuming that we're satisfied? I don't know. This is the key word though. How are they doing it? They've got a trust company, and you don't know. So how are they morally justifying it? These guys know they're reading this stuff. I'll tell you what, they are reading this stuff. What they're doing it's called in local parentis. If you don't know, then they're playing your parent. You're like a child of the state. In local parentis, they're looking after your welfare. You're part of their benefit. That's the justification. If you can't follow out the rules of engagement, we'll create an executive branch for you in local parentis. And you help pay off the debt. Because you're a good boy, Danny. Good citizens. All right, we'll give you sport on the weekend. All right, we'll give you a few little playthings. Be happy. All right, give you Medicare and all that sort. Just help us pay the debt. That's what they're using. You satisfied with that? You know, yeah, I think I've jumped the boat there a bit. Conversion. No, I'm doing well. So that's what it is. Now, if you don't like, what you can do, if you don't like the debt, this is the key word they don't want you people to know, there's something called a pro tanto. Pro tanto is I'm willing to discharge the debt. I'm willing to stand up. I don't need your parenting. I can do this. And I'm willing to discharge the debt. Big key word. The pro tanto. Difference mode. I might read this. Belong to by pro tanto. It is assuming intention to deem that intention must be received through in satisfaction of an existing obligation left by a test of will when deemed a revocable instrument. Oh, I messed up there. There it is, the deem. So if you're not satisfied with this loco parentis and you want to get out of it, if you want to get out of the straw man name and you want to go into the character, this is the key word. It's called an redemption. You get this in the Black Laws Dictionary. You want to redeem yourself from their trust company for inter vivos into another trust company, you have to redeem yourself and you have to give them notice, I'm redeeming myself, I want to get out of this and I want to go into another trust company. There's a process, it's called redemption. I am not satisfied, I am going to redeem myself. Big thing, that one. If you really want to get out of this whole straw man name character, you have to physically redeem yourself. It's like redemption. And once you do that redemption, then you can bring in the pro tanto, then you can start discharging the debt. Jesus, already, mate. 2 minutes already. And when it happens with that, and you go into a new trust company, this is when you can start doing new rules for of financial innovation. All right, John, if you redeem yourself, you can put a whole new platform of this is how we can count money, thank you. We can present that. Long as you redeem yourself from their debt. You've got to know, inter vivos, we want new rules of innovation as a course of business to administrate a new estate. And you want to do it because this is another key. The reason why we do it because we don't want to get into devastative. Why do we want to do it? Because we don't want to get devastated. This is devastating. So we're doing this because we don't want to fall into a devastation. Because what's happening out there is devastating. We're doing something new. We're putting a whole new financial economics. We're not a deem. We're deeming ourselves from their authority because we don't want to get involved in their devastation. If everyone comes together and you put all your titles together on the one page book, Just saying, so we really trust you and Jeff Ross, and everyone puts all their assets into Herald. The key word is what we do is called a hotspot. That's the key word. Hotspots are friends. You can just put it all together. It's a hotspot. That's a legal term. Put all your assets together. You've got all these great ideas how to save this sector of the universe. That's fantastic. Let's make a hotspot of it. Let's create a university, a college of all your great ideas. We can do it under a hotspot. Bring your assets in at the same time, please. Find your value. Let's count them up. Let's create a self-mercantile bank. Only the articles of air, not the articles of war. Articles of air, so any finances we bring in, it doesn't get put into the bloody war machine. Why not? The doctrine of marshalling distinguished between legal and equitable states. Jeff, what's your office again? Constable of Law Hayden. The constable in this book of heraldry, you might find him. He's got a rod, and the whole idea of the rod. He's checking the finances of the kingdom. Constable Marshal's office. This is what Jeff's got in history. Right. Conversion. One of the things, I've only got 5 minutes left. One of the things is that it's about conversion. So what you're doing, you have to go into conversion. But what's happened, you don't know. It's a key word, conversion. Because when you go into the Bible, and a lot of the old churches, they used to put all the people's name on the first page of the Bible. Passe Esse, I think it's called. And basically they're saying that Bible, they're converging to the doctrine of that Bible, and that Bible's protecting them from state law. The Bible protects them from law, and that's what the Mormons and Jehovah's Witnesses are all about. So you've got to know it's kind of like a conversion. But you don't realise you've been conversed into the Victorian government or in the corporation. It's called false conversion. You've got to find your own conscious conversion about what you're doing. That's part of the ball game. And once you do that, then you get into specific performances. And this is the real key. Just say everyone really likes the idea of building these rooted raw health foods with this ecological college and Everyone's at heart, that's a great idea. Put all your finances. But when it comes to specific performances, you need some people who know how to handle administration finances. It's quite a great art. All right? Because you've got to specify how you finance yourself. That has to be put on a constructive notice towards the Chantry Division. We can look after ourselves. All right. Geez, how much time have I got, mate? 5 minutes. All right, I'm going to knock this one off. Now just say you've got a mortgage. This is the beauty of it. The mortgage, the person who has the mortgage has got legal estate. They haven't got your equitable rights. They have not got your hereditary estate. They've just got a legal title to your land. If you've got a mortgage over here and you want to convert your equitable rights into another trust, they just say, oh, that's $1 million. 1 million, yeah? And you bring it over to there, because that's tied up on a loan. Basically, with that $1 million, these bankers are forward pledging your finances and making profit off you anyway. You bring that 1 million onto this book, you're going to tell them that your equitable rights, that 1 million assets going on to this, because this is natural justice, this is positive laws, two different laws. You can by law tell them that assets, equitable rights coming over there to help pay off that mortgage debt. So if you've got a mortgage and you want to come in and help us build a college, we'll help you pay off your mortgage. Pretty wild, eh? And when you come over here, the whole idea in this equity trust, as a conversion, is that we do create a group. We're creating an ecological body that's going to relive the Celtic priestess realm in balance with the Aboriginal culture. So there's rules of engagement in the community. It's not just, we have a right to censor who comes in. We don't want a bunch of cocaine addicts or stuff like that, Just go back to the ethos. But basically, if you want to help the Aboriginal community, and you've got property, you've got assets to do it, you bring your assets across, we'll help you get rid of the debt, as long as your assets help build colleges. God save the Queen, that's how the churches used to do it before we got all industrialised and got commercial. Still exists in the rule. This one's for you, Helen. With Indigenous people, there's something called, I'll just finish off with this. Mort, the writ of Mort the ancestors. Which is, this is key, well, everyone, I need to read, guys will write these down. It's called hereditary, hereditatis, my Latin writing's not that good, eh? And possess. Morte ancestor, hereditas petition paticiora. If your mob up north, Arnhem Land, want to get involved in this, and I'll talk to Helen a bit before, once you bring your totem into a seal, and the seal has a representation in the court of law, it comes under this petition of hereditary petition possession, then that black fella out in the bush has a right to take on the corporations. Because they have a hereditary right to that land. It just needs to be proved into a fact of law of court. You can't bring a dreaming into a fact of law of court, it's got to be a fact of law. So the whole idea is putting a dreaming into an image makes it a fact of law, and after that image of a seal, then you can create your writ of argument under the image. Everyone has a hereditary petition possessory right to protect your assets. If you can go get rid of your straw man name, redeem yourself from it, go back to your motive, can be even that Celtic motive you got there, Mr. Stewart. Yeah, any sort of image. If you don't have an ant totem, if you don't have a hereditary right, that's fine. When you do your 4-day men's workshop with me, one of the things I do is there's a lot of meditation, there's a really cool way how I do it. Really go into your totem, that space in there makes you want to fuck or fight to survive, right? If I can put it. That place is survival. In there's the grunt that makes you survive, that's your totem. And in that totem's a creature, it's an animal. Mine's a dragon. That's where I go with the meditation. Get into that space. Get out of your head, out of your heart, go into that place where you dance, you want to survive. Because in that place is your totem. You bring that totem out in the image, and there's your song. There's your charter, there's your business. And then we can do business. There's your value. You need to get to that stage. Or else, if you don't do it, what's going on, Ross? Mate, you've got to work to get here. It's not going to happen overnight. So one of the things is there's a lot more to do. I just want to finish up with that. I've been sitting on this for quite a few years. Jeff's been sitting on it even longer, especially when it comes to the financial stuff. Jeff's an interesting bloke of knowledge when it comes to that trust company and the specific performance finances and stuff like that. Jeff's even more frustrated than me to find good company to talk to. So with John coming into the scene and meeting Sharon and Candice and Alistair and Ben and Andrea, who might be turning up pretty soon, I'm very encouraged to meet people. They don't understand this, but they trust me that I understand this. When it comes to healthy food, I'm putting my trust into these guys about sharing food and sharing community. So I know my limitations. So these things you got to take and yield, and that's why we kind of invited everyone here. It's a private invitation. that those guys will want to help us build this. There's no assured promises. Well, we're just opening up potential probability. You know? What's that, Joe?
We've got a mortgage that becomes viv gauge, which is a living pledge.
Yeah.
You've got morte ancestor, that becomes viv ancestor, because it's now a living ancestor, a living...
True, yes, right on me. Yeah. Okay, there's morgue, dead ancestor. Viv 50 minutes, right. Because when you put a mortgage, it's a dead pledge. But if you put your mortgage over to here, it won't be a dead pledge, it'll be called a viv gauge. It means it's a live pledge. It's a live pledge. So yeah, so instead of a morte ancestor, you become a live ancestor. See how powerful the words are? It's how you present it. Who you present it to. You know he's presenting this to a counsellor. Alright? You've got to present it to the right people in the high court levels, because when a corporation wants to jump on you, you need to be prepared. Wait a sec, mate. You can take my argument to a higher court than the courts that they suck you into there. It's amazing how many people you can bounce off with this knowledge. And it's just that piss off and hassle someone else, mate. I'm doing good business. God save the Queen. Very powerful to know the law. I just want to finish up on this, and then this is what I'll get inspired by the law. The wisdom, strength, honour and estimation of the common law sprang from the foundational principles of the test of time. The time is wiser than judges, wiser than parliament, even wiser than the wits of man. When the common law is of reasonable usage throughout the whole realm, approved as time out of mind, dreaming, or legis non scriptura, in the King's Court of Record, which has jurisdiction over the whole kingdom, it is to be good as profitable for the Commonwealth. Immemorial custom, common to the realm and inducing maxims, gave the common law its wisdom, strength, flexibility and continuity. Custom grew to perfection by continual usage from time out of mind, and was more perfect and excellent than any written law. The principles of equity became from the local nature of customs. That exists. We can create our own custom and usage law, and we can create our own finances. And then we can help other people in their communities who are struggling because they don't know this rules of engagement. I finish. Thank you. Oh, questions? Any questions?
Yeah, so we're going to open it up to questions to anybody that
Yeah, mate.
has a question for us to answer.
We're going to go create an email, a Reddit raw, and get an email list through that.
Yeah.
One reason why I am an eccentric hermit who lives up in the bush, and when it comes to computers, I'm dinosaur stage. I'm not hopeless. So one of the things that we want to do is create this community flow of interest through the Reddit raw. We talked about it at the last meeting, Alistair. So I think Candice and David will take future reports if people want to continue on with this. But what I will do is that the two documentations, everything that I spoke and the prize laws of the Admiralty, I'll have that, give that to you, Dave, and I'll pass that on through you. Anyone who leaves an email address, you know. It'd be good to read that stuff, and if you want to ask questions in details from that, let's follow up on it, you know. So that's one. Yeah, Joe?
Just a question. Dreaming your soul's true identity through the image, which you then turn into a seal,
Yeah.
and then connect to an ancient claim. I think well understood this in a nutshell. That's more powerful than going via your own family name crest.
Well, you have a right to do what you want.
Yeah.
Basically, whatever seal you put up, whatever image it is, it becomes your charter of business. So if you put something up and then you want to change your mind 3 or 4 years down the track, well, that's not good business. A lot of people haven't got hereditary rights. You can put up, I mean, you look at the this symbol, you know. Nike. It's just a tick. All right? You want to do something under that symbol, you're going to get jumped on, aren't you? Or, you know, this thing. So they know it's just a motive, if you like. But they've trademarked and copyrighted it. They've put it out there. No one's disclaimed it. They've put this whole chart on it. Somewhere along the line, if you're big enough, you can take that claim on to court. You can take anyone on to court. But if you don't win, they can sue you for damages and waste of time. So it's the same as you. If you got anyone's got small idea, little. I'm a big one. If you got a little whisper and you give it 16 years discipline, it will become a thunder. You know. Big problem I find with the Western mind. They really, if they can't get it within the end of the week, it's bullshit. We've got really slack, disciplined minds. Too much variety out there to change and chop us. If you've got a dream, if you've got a little story about yourself in your gut, and just put the rest of your life committed to that, and that's how the big executive people work. Every time they walk, they keep talking and moving with their dream. They don't get caught up with the peripheral vanities about themselves. So yeah, the real hard thing is that what is it? Not what you want, it's what you will walk and talk and be with. And when someone tests your mettle, stand up. And if someone slaps you, don't cry, just get up and not hard enough, mate, move on. That's strength. But if you've got a really strong story in your belly and you've got conviction and you do good principles, I mean, that's the whole thing. My story of Jesus Christ, he had victory over death, you know, the story of victory. You can claim victory if you know the principles, the rules of engagement. So the one thing, someone hits me really hard, I say thank you very much because I was stupid enough to put myself in that hit. But I get right back up, not hard enough, mate. Still going. And they're like, wow. Because, you know, I want to move through that. So I've been to court, I got done, cost me a lot of money. I went out and I thanked the barrister's hand. I shocked him, thanks, mate. He was like, oh. I said, no, you're my best teacher. Cost me a lot, but that's grace, see. Something deep inside, I know that there's something strong, my dragon, it's willing me to do, study all this. It took me years to read this, Jeff knows. To read one of that whole book, The Trust Company, that took me about 4 months to get through that. It's not an easy read. It's not light reading. So,
He has 64 ancestors to make a selection from. He's the 65th, like we all are. We all live in mastery. Because there's 2 parents, 4 grandparents, 8 great-grandparents, 16, 32, then 64, number on the chest. You've got 64 life streams that come in to make you the living being you are.
Jeff, my workshop.
So the other question, I'm not sure it's a question, but more of an observation. There's a lot of focus on the corruption of the people that hold titles to the institutions, i.e. the monarchy and the church. And it actually doesn't matter from the sounds of this that those holders of those institutions are corrupt.
Well, from whose point of view? Facebook's?
I'm not claiming that those claims are true.
No.
But I'm just saying, I think I'm understanding that it actually doesn't matter whether they are or not because the law is enshrined.
Yeah, I don't, you know, personally, I'm not trial through jury, through this trial. We have a trial by court. This trial from Facebook is part of the devastation. Whether the Queen is corrupt or not, that's God's problem. I'm here right now and I can only do what I can do. And if somewhere along the line I meet a corrupt person, I will deal with that corrupt person in my face. I don't put any of my energy about what other people are doing. You know, I'm a big one, we're all scared little weird guys, and we're all trying to survive as best as we can, even if people are corrupt. Because, you know, they've probably got wife and kids in high maintenance schools and they're just trying to survive the best they can because what they've been told is real. It's all right, because I know this QC, this counsellor, this guy hasn't got a clue, but I know deep down inside he's got a family and he's got that nuclear family, he's trying to do the right thing by his family. And it's great, well, that's where they're at. I don't get caught up in outside fears. All I'm doing is, this is what I can do, this is what I can share. And when someone, good, bad or indifference comes in front of me, I will meet him accordingly at that moment. When it comes to the Crown, the House of Lords, White House, whatever, God knows, I don't expect they're full of saints. I've actually met a few Lords and Earls in the Scottish Highlands for the theology. Beautiful people, really are. It's the people who want to become Lords, they're the pricks. they're the dangerous ones. But I've met 3 Lords, because they had this great job taking people fishing on the locks with sea trout. So I was on the lock for nearly 9 hours with these people. Great people, very knowledgeable people, great burdens. Don't underestimate the power of the House of Lords either. If they want to close down this banking industry with one phone call, they can. Right? Don't underestimate how fragile your finances are. The law's a very powerful thing, right? And it's by the grace of a lot of good people in among that corruption we're still here. Not everyone in finance is corrupt. There's some good people trying to hold on to the good light. And they're the ones we want to meet. And they're the ones we want to offer this. Let's do something beautiful. The mining game's over. The world of resources is over. It was all started in the 1840s. That's what Cecil Rhodes was the one who brought out the Rhodesia, you know, the Rhodes scholars. Getting resources out of the land and get all the Afrikaners to work for pittance was Rhodes scholars. That's why Abbott's a Rhodes scholar and Hawke's a Rhodes scholar. And making sure they keep the mortgage belt on us. Make sure we keep working for money we never get above the mortgage belt. That's Rhodes scholars. We are a resource. That's what's running us, but that's going bankrupt. We've got to find a new way of doing financial exchange away from raw resources of the earth. Because there was heaps there to rip and rape back in the turn of the century, but now it's destroying the environment. It's not profitable. It's not consistent. It's not flammable. So it's no use getting involved in something it's a dead dog. We have to create something new. A new heart, new spirit, a new understanding. That's what I believe. And create a new will. But the whole thing with the monarchy, it's been going for 1,500 years. It's gone through economic collapses before and it will go again. It can evolve. But it can only evolve through our will. Yeah, Helen, right?
The monarchy, as she is a trustee. Once they bought them back, they got rid of them once, but they bought them back because there's a reason for that. Someone's got to take care of people that can't take care of themselves.
Yeah, Brian.
Two questions. One, can people get their money back out or their assets back out if they put their assets into the common trust? Is there a way if they have any reason to or want to?
I don't go that far. That's part of the specific performance. We need to find people who can manage that. I don't know that.
So it could be defined in such a way so that people could, right?
Yeah.
That's okay. And that's one of the things to be established on what basis and how. Okay, and then the other one is, did you say that when if people say transfer 100 million into the trust, which we're all aware has, did you say that the loan will be paid, needs to be paid back, and how is that done?
Yeah, when you, because they've got a legal estate,
Yeah.
a legal right onto your estate. But your equitable rights, basically your equitable rights is you can do, if you want to get someone to build a house on you, that's your right. You don't need to build a fence, that's your equitable rights. But if you want to go in there and put the assets on that into another book, you have to tell them, that's part of the process, that you're bringing assets over there to help pay off this debt. Just the fact that you're going from there to another whole new, what we call a provident exchange, not a bank, which is another talk. If we can get the conveyance transaction going through the QC to go from there to come back, these commercial bankers will shit themselves. Because there's a whole new movement of finances they haven't governed yet. This is the new Rubik. We, by our own will, are going to create our own new laws. They haven't got access to knowledge of that, so they're very vulnerable. Can you understand that? If you
How they get paid back, because they've got an agreement that says you're going to pay this plus 7% that at some point somebody signed, right? So how, if it gets transferred to another trust, how does that get managed?
no, if you got 20,000 in that mortgage, and my property's $1 million, and I've still got 20,000 debt, right? I put that mortgage over here, and because this becomes a viv gauge, this actually becomes like a financial platform that actually makes more money, right? So you become like a joint stock venture into this. So if that makes profits, you get some of the dividends that ends up paying off that, going back to paying that mortgage. Do you understand that? So if you just say that everyone here and everyone says, oh, great idea, Ross, we want to put it in and we got 20 million on a ledger book, we need to find people who know finances, who knows how to invest that $20 million in something ethical so it does grow. So when it does grow, the dividend goes back to each of the joint venture, so it goes off to pay off their debt. Accelerates. I don't know that well. This is John's. John understands that bit, but Jeff understands that banking principles. That's part of his history.
So if there's stuff on the land that's profitable, say at college, or say when you raw makes money, or whatever other things gets there on that, and or there's investment into other ethical things, that portion of that revenue goes back to pay off the remaining part of the mortgage.
Yeah, because everyone puts in and becomes part of that joint stock venture. They get a profit of that dividend to go back and pay off the. But if you got no debt, then that money comes back for your own leisure, I suppose. That world's outside of me. We have talked to the QC and there's other guys right in the big banking. They're saying, well, because when I talked to one guy about all this, Jeffrey says, I only deal in $100 million blocks, Ross, look, I'll cut it down to $20 million trenches if you don't. I said, yeah, man. Right. Because this is innovation. Corporations don't work in innovation, they just work for data information. They don't innovate. This is totally off its head. And the only way it can be done is if we give it good consent, agreement and strong will. Bit of trust, bit of faith, bit of confidence. I'm just presenting this, how this unfolds and how it eventuates down the near future history. Still a great mystery. We're hoping that people, if anyone's interested, to come back and we can keep talking and developing it as it goes, That's all this is at present, it's just an introduction. I know it's like, wow, what's going on? I can see everyone's like, geez, I wouldn't mind asking a bit more questions. We're here to do that. The main thing though is that we are emphasising on this Lex Lockie, health, education, this is part of the education, cultivation of land. So Greg, I've got land, got to build colleges on land. They're the three things. Finances will come after. Finance is just a peripheral if we just come to an agreement around those three things, trust me. Everyone wants money first, then we build a health. No, you get healthy first, then the money will come, I'm assure you. You get educated first, then the finances will come. But we're tripping, everyone thinks we need to get money to make ourselves happy. No, you get happy first, then the money will come. Trust me on that. Making money is not hard. Getting people together to make money, that's the hard part.
Just one thing I'd share around that, and that is the process that Roger Raw's gone on. If we look back to where it actually started from, and then to where it is now, and with what Ross and what's been captured today, and the people that he's actually able to put this in front of, just takes this to a whole new level, right? Just as it's gone from a whole new level in the space of 4 months, right? So it's about the people that can come together to actually really make this happen. And it's something that came to me before when we were talking about the tick and the end. I would just encourage everybody to leave this room and not focus on what's wrong. There's too many people focusing on what's not working. I don't focus on Big M, what's not working about it. I actually focus on what's working, what Big M's actually doing, to actually allow this to work. And they're doing some seriously good stuff for us. Right. A lot of people focus on all the bad food they're providing, but they've got some great systems in place and some really good methods of getting food out there. What we can do is embrace the opportunity and go, they're doing some really, some seriously good stuff. Their food's crap. Let's provide some really good food in a similar way to McDonald's do it. Right? But just focus on what we can do to make a difference. And that's really powerful. And as I've expressed that to people, and then expressing that to Ross, and Ross is going, whoa, okay, this guy's pretty serious about what he's doing. And then what Ross is going to do, and what's been captured today, he's going to present this to some people that are way beyond anything I could have ever imagined. And they're going to capture this, and they're going to go, we want to jump on board. That's my feeling.
Well, hopefully. That's the aim.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's having really strong integrity around that. Like when you say it, I know when I say it, I can truly believe in it. Because if we want to make a difference, we have to be totally committed. If I'm going to choose to run across Australia, I have to be committed. I'm not going to dig around with it, right? And that's with anything. Commitment, responsibility. And I think the other beautiful thing that Ross has really brought to Rooted Raw, and that is to trust. I trust that when I ask Andrea to make really good food, I know it's going to happen. That's a God-given, done thing. When I ask Ross anything about law, or know that there's something needs to be happen, something needs to happen around law, I know I can trust in him, right? And that's with everybody else on the team. As part of, I want to know something about branding, go to David. I can trust in him. And so we have a team that's coming together, and I know this team is only just beginning. So if anybody feels that they actually want to come into this realm, right, the first thing that we're going to want to do is get rid of this mortgage, this tie to the bank, right? We'll do everything in our power to actually get rid of that. So then all of your asset is actually in here. And that is gold.
Land.
Yeah, land. Because we can do so much with land. We've got some connections with people that will actually just put everything. They'll put their heart, their soul and their energy into growing amazing food on this land and to build a community so we'll be able to house people, give them a safe place to live and to bring up what I would see as being the most important part to all of this, and that is the children of our future, because they're the next generation. The generation like before me, look, there's a lot of them that are on their way out, right? But for me, my real passion is around embracing the generations that have come after me and giving them an opportunity to really thrive and make a difference.
Thank you.
No, thank you, Ross. Has anybody else got any questions?
One quick question.
Yeah, mate.
About the trust fund, does that sustain the community, or because you've got employers? I've got a situation at the moment where employers asking for an ABN, otherwise they won't trade with them.
No, outside the world of ABNs. when we go into the equity, it's very hard. One of the things we need to create a verification measurement. There's something called fuzzy filing. People come in agreement. I reckon this will take a couple of years before it actually actualises financially. Right. Basically, down the track, we can create our own municipal government again, called municipality, technically by law. And so then one of the things is we can refinance our own community accordingly, which we haven't done yet. The world of ABNs, if you've got an ABN, basically you're part of that debt cycle connection. By law, that's totally unlawful. That thing needs to be cut off, the ABNs. We can't have a healthy future for our children while there's ABNs. When the only way this thing can actually get into action, real action, we have to go into a Supreme Court. We have to take one corporation into a Supreme Court. It has to happen, because only through the Supreme Court can we actually change the structure of this law. Because through the Supreme Court we go into equity. So yeah, one of the big things is distribution. How do you distribute finances into a whole new realm of, you open up all forms of socialism, communism, Marx tried it, everyone's tried that. Mate, I don't know, to be honest, but it is a solid question, isn't it? In the future you want to create a community around healthy food and all that, but I don't think we can do it on a pyramid power set up, one executive and everyone's getting more of the cheese up the top while everyone's working. Look, I don't know. If we get to that stage, that's part of the specific performance. The thing though, if you've got a good question, you've got the answer within you, so maybe you should be able to tell us one day, mate. Hey?
I think bartering's part of the answer.
Bartering?
I don't have the full picture, but I live in Aylesford and a lot of the people around bartering exchange.
Yeah. Well, bartering's a form of exchange, yeah. You can even do it through gift and donations,
Yeah.
That's why I know a guy who used to, didn't have a beer licence, so what he'd done, everyone had raffle tickets, so everyone bought a raffle ticket and everyone won a beer. That's how he got across his alcohol licence. That's an exchange, you know what I mean?
It's unlawful.
Huh?
All licenses are unlawful.
Yeah, well, that's it. If you got the law and then the government creates a licence, a registered licence, basically they're just giving you a licence to break the law. All right? So yeah, when we set something up that's all law, this might be, I don't think we deal with licences. We don't reclaim out licences. Maybe this...
We have rights. We issue a right.
We issue a right. I don't know. That's down the track. One of the things, I'm just really at present, we're just trying to meet each other ethically. Because really a lot of people aren't satisfied with what's going on out there. A lot of people are quite concerned. It is on a shipwreck. What is a remedy? And that's why a lot of people are doing common law workshops. I think that's why a lot of people are here. I just want possible breath of fresh air that might be something possible, because it's not happening out there. I'm not saying this is set in stone. I'm just saying it's a possibility. But the only way this thing can work, if we come in an agreement and we give it a crack through strong will, we keep meeting. And I'm a big one, if you put out positive energy, positive people keep coming back, do you know what I mean? And big thing for me is being consistent. If you see me in 5 years' time, I'll be still being consistent, maybe a bit more gentler and more beautiful and more healthier and holistic. But I'll be still going for it, do you know what I mean? And then maybe in 5 years' time we can have that question can be answered again, and might be some good solutions come out of it.
The thing that actually comes up for me with that is that it's actually, the answer will always come to you, right? As long as you have the right intention about what you actually want to achieve, it will turn up, right? We've just got to trust, and in a sense, speaking my speak, we've got to have the balls to want to stay with what we believe in, and don't distort from that. Because it's when we get distorted and we, break away from what our true belief is, it breaks down. It's done that plenty of times in the past for me. And now I just, no, believe in this, trust in the process, and the right people will turn up. But absolutely, yeah, definitely. It's like, it's knowing why. We don't need to know how. The how presents itself through some incredibly knowledgeable people, as long as we know why. And I know why I stand here, Ross knows why he stands here, and I know why the rest of the team are being part of Rooted Raw. And if you know why you're here and why you want to make a difference, then the how will turn up. And this is part of what's actually being presented to all of you today, is the how. You can choose to be part of something that's going to make a huge difference. But we have to come together and give it a go.
Amen.
Before the last thing I want to do, we have the artisans that just turned up. Right? So I'd love to bring
So
Andrea up. Just come up the front, Andrea. Because this has been...
Give her a hand for the food. Yeah.
I had the privilege of spending all day Thursday with this really special woman preparing food, and amazing food. The whole energy, if you could have seen the size of Andrea's kitchen and what we prepared in that kitchen was amazing. And you got to taste it today. And this is just the beginning. For somebody like Andrea, that's what she does, is prepare amazing food. Right? But what we feel that we can actually bring to Andrea is an incredible amount of support in areas that aren't Andrea's strengths. Right? Andrea has strengths, I have strengths, David has strengths, Kamai has strengths. Everybody within our team has their strengths. And what we want to do is be able to embrace each other's strengths, embrace each other's weaknesses, and support those weaknesses. We're going to see a lot come out of that. But thank you so much for today.
My pleasure.
It's huge. Everybody absolutely loved the food. Yeah.
Thank you, Andrea.
Yeah, so, yeah, that's pretty much it. Ross, is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, we are going to, in 6 weeks' time, we haven't actually announced the date yet, because we wanted to get today out of the way. In 6 weeks' time, we're going to run this workshop again, right? And it's based on what we've got out of it today. We want to take that into the next one as well. So there is some feedback forms out on the table. And please, whether you send it through a feedback form or you email the one that invited you along with some feedback, we would so much appreciate it, right? Because we're open to feedback that can allow us to really grow. If there's anything that we can do different, yeah, we're really open to it. But thank you for everyone for turning up.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been a great day. And thanks heaps, Ross. Thanks to Mark up the back here for recording this field day. He's captured some really amazing work of Ross's. And Damo over here, he's going to put together a small doco, which will run for about 3 to 5 minutes. So when you turn up to the next one, you're actually going to see something really cool, which will actually just give you a really good feel about what we're doing. I mean, you've got to...
Is it 6 weeks from now a repeat this for other new people, or is it actually taking this one to the next level?
Well, new people can come, but they've got to just follow a bit, I think. Maybe the new people, if they're interested, have a look at the DVD, maybe. If they want to come, because this DVD, I don't want it to go on Facebook.
No, that's right.
Because this is really powerful knowledge.
Yeah.
Certain people who want to corrupt it would.
Yeah.
All right, so this is quite... I really want to appreciate that everything that you heard today. You know, there's this element of sacredness, you know what I mean? As soon as you start throwing it out to people, even your best friends, they don't know, they're desperate, they snatch and grasp and they can really take it in all sorts of angles. And you can easily lose the ethos when people don't know the full presence behind the story.
Casting pearls before swine.
Yeah. So for me, personally, this is a big trust because I'm opening up a lot of my vulnerability.
Yeah.
Once you start talking law, you're talking a sensitive part of people, talking about estates and that. So when I talk law and I get a lot of people coming in, especially Indigenous people, because a lot of them have got issues with the coppers, it's pretty hard when you've just got to talk about, you know, my brother's in jail, brother, you know, how do I get him out of jail? It's a whole different conversation of law, but there's all this passion involved in that, you know what I mean? So I just want you to, so what you received here, just honour it very gently with yourself, really sit on it. If it's not your cup of tea, that's fine, God bless. But if it is, and you want to go on, you know, come back. It's all about community, it's not for everyone. But if you got any friends, oh man, you know, I really reckon you should have heard this guy, let us know. And then maybe we can, if they're really interested, we can get that DVD for them to look through. Like Andrew out there was keen to have a look what I said.
We might even just put on an evening where those people that are interested come along to just watch that, like they're watching a movie, right? But I think it'd be something where we would want to have it in more of a controlled environment.
For now.
Something Yeah, this is something we truly respect now. This is not about, other people coming in with what their agendas are. I've certainly noticed in my experience that it's very easy for people to find fault in anything, because it's a very easy way for them to justify why they're not going to do it. Right? It's their easiest way out. Right? And for me, it's actually focusing on what is good about this. What can we take away from this to really embrace and make it work? Because then we've been true to ourselves and true to the process. It's so easy for people to bring out faults in things. We do it to ourselves personally. I mean, don't we all stand in front of the mirror and we go, oh, geez, I don't like that part of me. No, get out of here. All standing in front of the mirror and absolutely love and embrace yourself.
Then how the methodology, somebody asked about, a lot of work has gone into that, and it's very close to being able to be put together. And it will use the postal system, so the post office can breathe relief because it'll start to get out of the way.
That's exactly right, Jeff, and that's what I believe. It's like Ross coming along. Today's the first day I've actually met you, but what Ross has actually shared with us as a team about this guy here and what he can actually do to support what we're doing is amazing. And we really haven't got to know too much about this guy yet, right? And then you get to know Jeff and you go, okay, gee, I wonder who in the hell Jeff knows. And we know that he's got some pretty amazing connections. Ross has shared with us about Helen who was here up the back. And man, when he shares with us just where the connections this woman's got, just blows our mind. And we really embrace it. But the last thing that I'll share with you that Ross has really brought to us as a team, this is really close to my heart. And I think for us guys and women, you can see it from both sides. It's something that's really I've got to embrace, and that is what women actually bring to what we do. Right? The women that are part of our team as Rooted Raw is incredible. And we really want women to connect to what their song is, what it is that they really want to do, and us as men will support them in every way we possibly can to see that happens. No different to a woman giving birth to a baby, and then us as a man being there to support them in every way we possibly can. And it's a very different way of looking at it to what I ever grew up knowing. And I just actually feel much more of a man now, actually understanding that. Going, hang on a minute, as a man I can actually be here and embrace all the beauty of a woman and allow that to really flourish in an incredible way. Not only for the woman's sake, but then for the child's sake. It's pretty powerful. We're on to some really good stuff here. And this is just the beginning. So in 6 weeks, I just believe that, look, you take this out there, share this with some, really close friends of yours that you feel, hang on, they would love to hear this. Come back and we'll take it to a whole nother level. So, let's wrap it up. Thanks so much. If you want us to hang around and have a bit of a chat, there's still a little bit of food out there. We can stay around for a bit. Is that okay, Alistair? We've got the key for it? Yeah, all right. And, sorry. So anybody that hasn't paid for today, if they can just catch up with Sharon here, that'd be really appreciated too. All right. But thank you very much. Awesome.
No, Dan.
Oh.
No, don't worry. No.